Now, my son used to have explosive anger. He had anxiety, poor tolerance to emotional stress, and irritability. And I could go on and on and on. All of these symptoms are related to something called pyrroles. Welcome to the Soaring Child Podcast, where parents of children with ADHD learn tips and tricks to help their child soar at home, at school, and in life. We feature interviews with experts, medical professionals, and parents just like you who are learning how to reduce ADHD symptoms using food and other natural strategies. Because children with ADHD deserve to soar just like every other child. I'm your host, Dana Kay. Hello, parents, and welcome back to another edition of the Soaring Child Podcast. Now, in this week's episode, we are going to talk about one of the most common underlying stressors affecting children with ADHD, and that is kryptopyrrole. I know it's kind of strange. It's a kind of strange word that sounds very, very technical, but I'm going to explain it really, really soon. And I promise it will make complete sense once you finish this episode. My name is Dana Kay, and I am so passionate about helping families reduce their child's ADHD symptoms using natural solutions. I'm also a board-certified holistic health and nutrition practitioner, but most importantly, I am a mum of a gorgeous boy with ADHD who is thriving without medication, and I have years of experience helping other families do the same. So today I want to talk about one huge underlying stressor that may be playing a role in your child's ADHD and mood dysregulation. Now, if your child has mood dysregulation, you definitely want to keep on listening. Now, if your child has two or more of the following symptoms, keep tuning in. Do they have irritability, anxiety, poor tolerance to physical or emotional stress, depression, mood swings, poor anger control, explosive anger, increased sensitivity to light, sounds, and smells, poor short-term memory, frequent infections, allergies, white spots on the fingernails, poor appetite, especially in the morning, and little or no dream recall. Now, my son used to have explosive anger. He had anxiety, poor tolerance to emotional stress, and irritability. And I could go on and on and on. All of these symptoms are related to something called pyrroles. So you're probably asking, what are these pyrroles? Now, firstly, you may have heard them being called a different name. It's also known as pyroluria, kryptopyrroles, or even Malve factor. Now, the technical name for it is hydroxyhemopyrrolin 2,1. Okay, really long and technical, but you can just call it HLP for short. Now, small amounts in the body are totally normal, and it has its purpose. It's there for a reason, but what it can do is take a particular liking to the zinc and the B6 in our body. HPL has such an affinity for these vitamins that once we absorb these nutrients from our bloodstream, HPL totally hijacks them before they can be used elsewhere in the body. They are then excreted out of the urine, meaning that the zinc and B6 nutrients are no longer available for their usual biological roles in the body. And so people with pyroluria have been found to have exceptionally low levels of both vitamin B6 and zinc. Now, some people believe that pyroluria is hereditary, so genetics, and that it's a chronic condition that requires lifelong treatment. That's one school of thought. Now, others believe that it is from stress or trauma and a sign of oxidative stress. Now, oxidative stress is an imbalance between production and accumulation of oxygen reactive species or free radicals. You may have heard them. I remember that there was this advert on television years ago about free radicals and that probiotics can come and get rid of those free radicals. Now, these are in the cells and tissues, and the ability of the body to detoxify these. So these then increase inflammation. Now, we need some oxidative reactions and some inflammation for many processes in our body, like fighting off infections and wound healing. But too much can become a problem. Now, so those are the two schools of thoughts, genetics and oxidative stress. I actually believe, and also from doing so many kryptopyrrole tests, that it's probably a combination of both. So a combination of genetics and a combination of oxidative stress. Now, pyroluria is commonly linked to ADHD. That's why we're talking about it today. Autism, dyslexia, anxiety, depression, Down syndrome, schizophrenia, learning disabilities, bipolar, and even alcoholism. However, not everyone with these conditions have pyrroles, and not everyone with pyrroles has these conditions. It's actually thought to sit around 18 to 35% of people with these conditions, which is still quite substantial. Now, I will say I've conducted probably over 1,000 kryptopyrrole tests. I would say in the ADHD group that I'm working with, those kids, it's probably around 40-50% of them that have these elevated pyrroles in their urine. Now, the signs of pyroluria are very diverse, and pyrrole disorder can be mild, it can be moderate, or it can be severe. And some people only exhibit a couple of those symptoms. I've seen kids with only one or two of those symptoms and still had high pyrrole levels. In most cases, people will have at least two of the ones that I mentioned. So that irritability, that anxiety, poor stress control, depression, mood swings, poor anger control, explosive anger, that sensitivity to light or sound or smells, poor short-term memory. Now, in extreme cases of pyroluria, there are severe mood swings and even violent behavior. They may also have issues with allergies, white spots on their nails, wound healing, poor dream recall, and also get frequent infections. Now, as you have probably realized, many of those symptoms that I've just shared are common ADHD symptoms. So you're probably wondering to yourself, what do you do if you suspect that pyroluria could be at play for your child? So you can definitely speak to your healthcare practitioner about conducting a test to determine if it is or not pyroluria. There is a simple at-home urine test that can be done, and it measures the HPL being excreted and then categorizes it as either normal, optimal, borderline, or positive. Now, I will say that a lot of traditional doctors will not know much about pyroluria, and so you may have a bit of a struggle getting that test done by your general practitioner. But anyone practicing in the more natural space will definitely know a bit of information about it and may be able to order that test for you. I definitely order that for all of the families that I work with. I use a lab called DHA Laboratories, and I use their kryptopyrrole test. So as I mentioned, most traditional doctors, they will not know much about it and most likely will not run this test, unfortunately. So what do you do if it's borderline, or if it's positive, or if it's extremely high? You definitely want to work with your holistic health practitioner to come up with a tailored bio-individual vitamin and mineral protocol. And this will include increasing zinc and B6, most importantly, but then also adding some other key nutrients to reduce that oxidative stress. So things like vitamin C, selenium, biotin, vitamin E, and in some cases, usually when it's higher, evening primrose oil, which contains omega-6. That's if pyroluria is very high. Now, there are a few things that are important to know, though. Some people with mild to moderate pyroluria can have a really quick improvement within a few weeks of increasing zinc and vitamin B6. But others with more severe pyroluria, it can take upwards of 3 to 12 months to balance those levels. Now, if genetics are at play, which a lot of the time they are, sometimes this can be a lifetime balance, that balance game. And when stopping the vitamins and minerals, you must be aware that they may experience an immediate return of symptoms. Usually I like to test it out, 2 to 4 weeks of stopping those vitamin and minerals to see if those symptoms return. And if they do, we know that there's probably a strong predisposition to kryptopyrrole and may need that lifelong management of that vitamin B6 and zinc and antioxidants to reduce that oxidative stress. Now, sometimes just addressing pyrroles can bring about a dramatic change, but, I cannot emphasize the danger in letting pyrroles take the entire blame for your child's ADHD-like symptoms. Most of the time, there are many other little pieces of the puzzle that have to be addressed. So I am sure you are also asking, what are those other pieces of the puzzle? The number one thing contributing to our child's ADHD symptoms is inflammation. And you are probably now asking yourself, how does inflammation occur? So this is going off on a little sidetrack away from kryptopyrrole, but I think it's really important to address because we don't want to just focus on one piece of the puzzle. I actually like to think of the body like a bucket. Okay, we're all born with an empty metaphorical bucket, and the key throughout life is to keep the bucket as empty as possible. Unfortunately, inflammatory substances like toxins, bacteria, pesticides, medications, poor diet, all of these things add to the bucket over time. And when our bucket gets too full of inflammation, it overflows in our body, allowing inflammation to spread. And that's why symptoms begin to show. That is what is happening with many children who have ADHD. Their bucket is overflowing with inflammation and it is exacerbating symptoms. And you're probably wondering, well, why my child? Why is their bucket overflowing and my other child, it's not? Everyone has different genetics, and some of us are blessed with optimized detoxification pathways. So we're able to empty our bucket out of our body really easily. So we can keep the load on that bucket low. But others, because of genetics, have compromised detoxification pathways. I run loads of DNA tests. I've even done it for families of 5 and families of 6. You can have 3 kids, and one can have terrible detoxification pathways, and the other child can have really good detoxification pathways because there are 4 different types of gene combinations that are possible to come from your parents. So if a person has compromised detoxification pathways, they're not able to effectively empty their bucket out of their body, and that load on that bucket grows and grows and grows and then tips over. Then inflammation comes out, and that's when symptoms of ADHD and other disorders and diseases come out as well. Now, the World Health Organization ranks chronic inflammatory diseases as the greatest threat to human health. Oh my gosh. And these diseases are being driven by inflammation in the body. Inflammation can come from many different sources, things that I mentioned before, but, diet, nutrition, food sensitivities, problem with the gut-brain connection, neurotransmitter imbalances. So your serotonin, your dopamine, your norepinephrine, your epinephrine. These are the things that drive our mood, our emotions, our cognitive function. You can also be vitamin and mineral deficient or having imbalances in the body. And of course, environmental toxins can contribute to that inflammation as well. Now, some other pieces of the puzzle could be other genetic issues affecting nutrients that involve mood and cognition, things like genetic mutations like MTHFR, COMT, MAO, methylation and detoxification. Things like past trauma can even increase inflammation in the body, nervous system overload, and of course, sleep issues. Sleep issues can be a big contributor to inflammation. So I want to summarize here because that was a lot of information in a very short period of time. Pyroluria or kryptopyrrole may contribute to some of our children's ADHD symptoms. If it is at play, it results in a dramatic deficiency of zinc and vitamin B6. It can cause a wide range of emotional and other symptoms, and you can identify pyroluria through an at-home urine test from DHA labs. You can then target that pyroluria through an individual protocol of vitamin and minerals. Last but not least, make sure you don't ignore other pieces of the puzzle for your child. When you start piecing together all the pieces of the puzzle for your child, you can actually start to help them feel happy, feel in control, bring back that calm, and you can relieve symptoms naturally and watch your child and your family thrive. So now, if you suspect pyroluria might be at play for your child and contributing to their symptoms and are ready to take that leap and really start fighting those ADHD symptoms naturally, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the link in the description below that you can click to schedule a free breakthrough call with me and my team. We will speak to you personally about how we can support you so that you can help your child thrive at school, at home, and in life, and you can get that calm back into your house that you deserve. I want to give a summary of my son. He started out at the age of 4 being diagnosed with ADHD and straight away put on medication. He was on 3 strong ADHD medications at once, and the doctor wanted to put him on the 4th. And that is when I said, no more. This is not right. A 5-year-old at the time now was on 3 strong medications. This was not okay. And that's when I started this journey that got me to where I am today, here talking with you on the podcast, helping families across the USA and around the world and helping them bring back that calm in their house. Now, my son, he is 13 and a half. Yes, he is a teenage boy, but he is completely off medication. He's thriving at school. In fact, when he finished out grade 7 this year, he got straight A's. But, that for me is not important. The most important thing for me is that he's happy, that I'm happy, and my whole family is happy. Now, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of the Soaring Child Podcast. I'm Dana Kate, your ADHD health practitioner. Keep on thriving. Thank you for listening to the Soaring Child Podcast today. To learn more about how to help your child with ADHD soar using natural strategies, visit our website at ADHD Thrive Institute.com and follow us on social media at ADHD Thrive Institute.